We got some interesting stuff to talk about today with the Mythic Plus Week 2 numbers, breaking down how people are doing, where people are running, what their favorite dungeons are, and everything else, as well as how 11.1.5 gear progression is going to work. So let's just dive straight into this. Trial of Style returns with new rewards this week. So Trial, we've got basically recolors of different stuff here. We'll look at some of these rewards. If you're a Trial of Style enjoyer, that thing is already live and will be going on for the rest of the week until reset. So jumping in there and, enjoying yourself, trying on new shit, doing your thing, and getting those little currency coins that you can get for some interesting rewards. Now, what are those rewards? We got some leg wrap stuff here, basically recolors of some old trading post items, a ton of different leg wrap stuff. I mean, you want to do your best Xalatat impression, this is your time to do it. A bunch of Ninja Turtle brownish colored stuff, so yeah, you could get that bandana there, a few other things, the Skirty Boy, and the nice little shoulder cloak there. Kind of a leather colorway on all this stuff, so actually not a bad looking colorway. BFA's Legendary Cloak. You guys remember it if you played in BFA. It was your corruption resistance measure, right? You had to level it up, build it up to basically get deeper into those visions of N'Zoth without falling to corruption. The better your cape was, the better built out it was, the more resistance to corruption you had, the better corruption gear you could attach to. That whole shit got really fun towards the end, honestly. It was broken as hell and janky as shit, but man, we had some crazy stuff going on towards the end of BFA there. Anyways, this cloak is coming back, but maybe not in its level up form, which is maybe for the better. I don't know if people really want to grind out a whole corruption resistance thing again, but we have seen in data mining that this cloak is in fact coming back, but maybe just as a cosmetic. So we don't know if it's actually intended to be a real cloak for players to use just yet. Like Cersei Circlet and patch 11.0.7, I do agree with this, that if it was in fact the cloak that we are planning on leveling up like it was last time, that probably would have been a big feature that they would have shown us early on, and they really haven't mentioned anything about it, so it's probably not going to happen. Besides that, we are getting, it looks like, cosmetic versions of it, so maybe if you didn't play BFA, you'll be able to finally get these cosmetics. So here they are as they are data mined. We got the corrupted version of it, the purified version of it, and then the celestial version of it. If you remember, this thing used to level up, look cooler as you got better with it, and it pumped up the item level, and you would get these different versions of it. Obviously, you would be able to transmog any of these. So anybody who played BFA back then already has these different transmogs, but if you didn't, yeah, this will be your shot to get them. Corruption, overall, I don't know how they're going to play it out in Visions, honestly, because this was a big mechanic for it and how you progress through it. If they just keep corruption kind of all the same, really the only difference is going to be you applying masks and stuff like that to make those runs a little bit harder. Now, we'll talk about how gear progression is going to work with this thing here in a second, but before we do, we're jumping into Mythic Plus numbers. That's right, the data shows some big participation shifts in this thing. So looking at week 2 overall, the total runs across all dungeons, it's pretty even. It's a nice even split this season, which means the good thing is no dungeon is overly difficult and no dungeon is overly easy. It's a nice level distribution right now. We saw Priory of the Sacred Flame get a little bit of a buff, right, to its timer, so it's gone up. And then we also saw, where was it, Dark Flame Cleft got a little bit of a nerf in terms of its timer. I believe it got like about 2 minutes, a minute and a half taken off on its timer. So its participation was a little bit down for the week. But overall, if we're looking from week 1 to week 2, there was a 12.7% drop-off. Now, you might be saying, oh my god, that's horrible. That sounds really bad. People aren't doing Mythic Plus as much. But that's typical of what we see in these seasons. That's actually 0.78% less than Seasons 1 drop-off. So, typical of what we would usually see from a Week 1 to a Week 2 run. As I said, the dungeon split, nice and even. Looking at this chart again, by the way, completed keys would be, what's it called? The percentage-wise, you're looking at about 86% for Dark Flame Cleft. That is the dungeon that's getting completed the most per run. While a second place would be, what was it? 79.6? Yep. Theater of Pain, believe it or not. 79.63% of Theater of Pain runs are getting completed. Now, sometimes this stuff gets skewed a little bit because if you look at participation numbers, those are down, right, on Theater of Pain. So typically, the people that you're going to see run it are people who might be really good at doing Mythic Plus. They don't give a shit what they're going to run. They're just going to run anything that their key comes up with. So that might skew the numbers a little bit, but overall, Theater of Pain has a decent percentage rate in terms of getting completed. Now, if you look at them all combined, the lowest one is 75% on Mechagon Workshop. So, the Rookery, 73%. Now, the Rookery saw some some buffs and some nerfs. I believe the Rookery actually saw a nerf to its timer. So overall, the Rookery, which has been quite beloved in the early days, is heavily impacted by the new timer nerf and trash buffs, so that's why their percentage completion time is kind of down. But as I was going to say, 73% to 79% is your range for completion, so nothing really big here, nothing like Miss the Tyrannocyte that we saw in Season 1, which was just popping off in terms of completion rate, and that was the one everyone was running. Overall, a decent range of completion rate and participation across the board for these, so a nice balanced season so far from what we're seeing. As I said, the split across the keys, too. Looking at the levels here. If we look at the levels, only any level 7 or below saw its completed runs drop from 15.77% to 63.91%. Now, that was, a 15.77% drop. Basically, what you're seeing here is people shifting up to the higher keys, right? That's typical of what you would see from week to week in a season. People are getting more confident in their runs, getting better gear, and they're pushing to that real sweet spot, which is anything above a key level 7, right? That's when you're going to get your big boy crests, pushing up to those 10s to get that really good gear. So essentially, this is what people are going to want to settle in as they gear out as hardcore Mythic Plus runners. So basically, from week to week here, the Mythic track vault key level 10 made up more than 20% of the keys, while in previous weeks it was just above 9%. So again, pushing those higher keys. When comparing to Season 1 in its second week, we are looking at almost double the amount of people completing 10 keys with a success rate of 67.55%, while it was 52.2% last season. So higher keys getting done more often, and higher keys getting completed more often. So again, that shift to the higher keys, it's typical of what you would see here, but it's happening at a better rate. In week 1, as I was saying, we saw 61.3% of keys were below 7. Now, in week 2, 63.3% of keys were completed at a 7 or higher, so a little shift up that way. End time percentage. Looking at the comparison here, 16% points movement here. 51.5% last week, now 67.55%. We're looking at level 10 keys, so a higher percentage rate of keys getting completed. In conclusion, looking at all these numbers, despite the massive shift towards higher keys and more challenging key levels, the upward trend for completion rates is quite clear and is outperforming previous seasons by miles. In a few weeks, we'll be looking at the long-term performance of both season starts. In comparison, it already looks like a complete blowout when comparing to Season 1. By now, the journey through the key levels is much smoother and rewarding. I totally agree with that. And it'll most likely only improve while item levels rise each week. Now, they were saying some of these numbers will typically shift towards the end of the week because people will take more risks. But right now, the completion rate currently sits at 83%, with keys level 10 alone achieving a 78.9% success rate. Notably, over 26% of all runs so far this week have been completed at level 10. So pushing higher keys, getting better gear, that's the theme here, but doing it at a higher success rate. That's what we're seeing really when it comes to comparisons with Season 1. Good morning, Cahoots. How's it going? As it should be. Yeah, I totally agree. Tidewell putting bricks in the chat. I don't know why. I don't brick keys. I don't know what he's talking about. So a good season. To summarize it, better than Season 1 for sure. We'll keep looking at these numbers and seeing how it all balances out. 11.1.5, I kind of hinted at this. How gear progression is going to work in this thing is going to be interesting because we got some new ways to get gear, right? So Dastardly Duos, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. This is the new boss fight mechanic. It's a challenge mode. You'll be able to fight bosses and get a score and do all that stuff. Well, there's gear attached to this thing. You get a Dastardly Duos prize purse, okay? This is what you're going to get when you complete it. This thing will actually give you 632 eye-level gear, veteran track gear. So, probably a lot of us are going to be past this, especially if you're raiding and doing Mythic Plus by this point. I'm already past 632 item level. But what you're really going to see is people probably running this thing for the achievements, for the scores, and for the mount. That's going to be the big reason. Other than that, it's going to be a really good maybe alt way to level up your gear. Maybe if you're not raiding, you're real casual about the game, this will be a nice way to kind of get some of that item level. Horrific Visions will be a much better way to pump up your item level for sure. You can get completing an objective and defeating a main boss provides you with a 626 item level gear. Now, that's not that high. But when you start to equip masks to this shit, that's when your item level is really going to get pumped up. So a full clear on all 5 masks when it comes to Horrific Visions will give you 656 hero track, 4 of 6 gear. That's pretty good. Most of us are not going to be past that point. Hero track gear in general is going to be pretty relevant for a lot of us for most of the season. So this is going to be a really good way to pump up that item level really hard too. Again, masks, if you don't remember, add extra challenges to this thing. We're going to get 3 extra masks this season. So we'll see how those masks balance out and how difficult they really are. Again, without the corruption mechanics on the cape, which was a big thing about how to do the masks, right? You had to level up your cape to really be able to do some of these masks in the first season, BFA. Without that, I don't know how challenging these masks are going to be. If corruption mechanics just really are something that you just got to avoid shit, and it's not really about leveling up your cape, then maybe you'll be able to pump out these masks pretty quick and early in the season. But again, giving you some 656 item level gear is a pretty big boost there. Nightfall, this is the new thing in Hallowfall. It's going to be a new open world event. You'll be able to get these Radiant Emblems of Service, 1 token per week, and you can turn it in to get yourself some, what item level gear here? Champions level gear. So there you go, get yourself some 636 Champions level gear. Maybe good for alts again, not really a high pumpage in terms of item level. Also, transmog will probably be able to be had from this stuff, so that'll be an interesting one. I believe the white variant of the Hallowfall set is what you're going to be purchasing here, and if that's the case, a lot of people are going to be doing this just for that sexy-ass albino version of that Hallowfall set, which is probably one of the best open-world sets we've ever gotten in the game. The Renown vendor also provides Champions track gear at Renown 10. And then defeating a Nightfall rare drops give you Veteran track 629 gear. So again, another really good way to level up your alts there. For players optimizing their gear in patch 11.1.5, combining weekly Dastardly Duos, full Horrific Vision clears with masks, and targeting Nightfall farming provides a steady flow of Champions and Veteran track gear. And don't forget, with those masks, you'll be getting Heroic track gear. So plenty of ways to gear out and pump up that item level coming in 11.1.5. Always good to see a variety. And that is all in terms of news.